My name is Sergeant First Class Matthew Beam. I'm a current Green Beret here in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I'm currently being separated from the Army simply for asking for mental health and being open and honest about all my struggles. And so I'm doing this video today to bring to light about not just me, but the struggles that myself and thousands of other soldiers who are currently going through my same situation, or thousands of soldiers who have actually gone through my similar situation when they reached out, genuinely wanted to get help that they desperately needed, and then turned around and they ended up fighting for their career and ultimately, in most cases, losing their career. So I'm gonna start off. For the most part, I wrote everything down, so I'm just gonna kind of start reading about what I got. What I do want everybody to do that watches this, please start tagging all the senators, congressmen that you can, especially North Carolina, Thom Tillis, North Carolina again, Congressman Dan Bishop, Madison Cawthorn, Dan Crenshaw, Ron DeSantis, any other veteran congressman or senator that you know. Please tag them in this video and share it, because there's no protection for the actual soldier when it comes to asking for mental health. And so I'm going to explain to you my situation, why there's no protections, and why it's not just a stigma. It's the truth that soldiers have zero protection for themselves when it comes to asking for mental health. So I'm gonna start off by, everybody hears the phrase, hey, don't be afraid to come ask for help. Don't be afraid and come to ask for help. But the fact is, we are afraid to ask for help. So starting off, I'm not gonna be looking at the camera a whole lot because I've got a lot of stuff to read. So there's zero protections when it comes to soldiers asking for mental health. This is not a stigma, it is the absolute truth. There's nothing but loopholes command use to ultimately just protect the command. At the end of the day, it's not about the soldier, it's always about protecting the command. So you cannot go to your chain of command and be open and honest about your own personal struggles. So you are literally forced to lie and hide the truth in order to protect yourself, because you risk of losing your career. So how is a soldier supposed to actually get the help that he truly needs if he can't go to his command or people that he trusts and be 100% open and honest about everything that he's struggling, him or her being depressed and struggling with drugs and alcohol and whatnot, because they're afraid to go to their command. They don't want to lose their career, because if you're in a leadership position, any type of leadership position, you ask for mental health, you're immediately removed from it. And a lot of times, at the end of the day, it's being with your soldiers that is keeping you together day by day. And then you're removed from it and put in a desk job or put in a corner. Carry on. So we can't be 100% truthful about what's going on in our life or our struggles, but the fact is that if you're open and honest with your struggles, it can be used against you, just in like my situation. I was 100% open and honest about everything that I had done while I was struggling with mental health. And I actually have a little bit that I'll talk about that I know a lot of people can relate to my exact situation. So after I get through this, I'm gonna actually get into my personal story. So, and another thing that I've seen is that your command is able to make decisions against the recommendation of your actual medical providers. So in my case, my doctor was like, hey, Sergeant Beam still wants to, or needs to continue to get mental health. But my provider was told by my command, absolutely not. That ship has sailed. Maybe later on down the road, we can talk about getting mental health. It's because my chain of command at the time called my provider and had a conversation with her. And then after I got off the phone, he came into my face and started bragging to me about how they've been friends for years. And after talking to her, they're switching my self-referral command referral, and they're sending me to SEDC. Which, like, my story, everything I say on here is not unique to me. So there, like I said in the beginning, there are thousands and thousands of soldiers who have the exact same situation as me. And a lot of times, like, even speaking with my provider, a lot of the times soldiers just give up and just be like, kick me out of the Army. I don't even care anymore. But I'm doing this video in hopes to genuinely make a change and be an agent of change for this system, because the mental health crisis is getting out of control in the military. So it's up 40%. And like I said earlier, people are starting to say, your commands say, come talk to us. If you need help, come talk to us. But when the rubber meets the road, at the end of the day, you can't be open and honest. Because if you say, hey, I've been using drugs and alcohol, I've been super depressed and everything, they are actually required to report and piss test you. So why do you think our soldiers are going to sit there and suffer in silence, find negative coping mechanisms, start drinking, doing drugs, and worst case, they end up committing suicide just because they don't want to jeopardize their career, but they slowly start, just like I did, they slowly start going down and down and down and further in the drain. So, all right. So for myself, I genuinely wanted to get help for myself. I was tired of suffering. I told my doctor everything, and because of that, these last 2 years, so my situation has been going on for 2 years. So the last 2 years I've been thriving once I finally got the actual help that I needed when I was moved to a chain of command who I am absolutely grateful for. They were an absolute positive influence. They gave you a positive environment to grow as an NCO, and like, they know who they are, and like, I am forever grateful for the opportunities that they gave me. But still, I was lucky. I was lucky that I found a command team that truly, genuinely cared. My entire chain of command through this whole process, like, it should have stopped right there. My entire chain of command said they didn't even want to go to the separation board. Battalion and group want memos to retain me to throw out my board, and it shouldn't even have gone past that. At no point it should have gone to a general level where commanding generals are not invested in the soldier. They haven't seen you personally grow. They haven't seen you be a success story. In my personal case, I was talking to the soldiers, our students, about mental health and what it takes and how you're not alone and you're not the only one struggling. And I've given so much back to this community, and I've never asked for anything. Like, last 5 years, for example, I've raised over $1 million for Green Berets. I've ran events for the Special Forces Charitable Trust, VA Hospital. I've helped a Green Berets family that was terminally ill with cancer. Gold Star families. Like, I've given my heart and soul back to this regiment, and the only thing I ever asked for was to get the proper mental health that I deserved. And you should be allowed to be open and honest and just pour your heart out on the table, because are you really genuinely getting the help that you actually need if you're 80% truthful, 90% truthful, 70% truthful? No, you're absolutely not. And the fact that, like, and I've spoken with my provider about this over and over and over again, if I would have just lied and said, I'm just depressed, I would have been fine. But it's doing myself a disservice and my family a disservice not to be truthful, not to get the absolute right amount of help that I genuinely need. All right, so, okay. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and kind of the struggles that I went to personally, because I know a lot of people that are going to watch this video, or if you know somebody that can really relate. Like I said, my story is similar to thousands of people. So I didn't wake up one day and say to myself, man, I'm just really depressed. It was a long, slow growth over a few years. It manifested itself and nearly cost me my job, my family, and ultimately my life. Over a course of about 3 years, I lost 3 close friends to suicide, 3 close friends in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. On top of losing my friends, I had multiple back-to-back injuries after being healthy and injury-free my entire life. And if you know, in our community and stuff, like being able to perform at a high level is everything. And I mean, that goes for everywhere else in the military, anybody that's ever been an athlete. The most difficult thing during this time was pretending that I was okay. Like, this was the most tiring, crushing thing that was about this entire situation for me. It was absolutely exhausting. I buried myself in work and doing charity events, and because of this, I was never home, and my marriage really began to suffer. So I was trying to fill that gap, not to do whatever I can to stay busy, not to think about being depressed, like, why do I feel like this, and everything. So if you know me, I've always been a super happy-go-lucky guy. I'm always smiling, laughing, and I was able to keep up this facade for quite a long time. I always told myself, I'm going to snap out of it. Get back into the gym, get back into the flow of things and stuff. And you always keep talking to yourself like, hey, tomorrow, you're going to be okay. You're going to get out of this. And then I could just never get out of the hole that I was in. So, and the hole just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So I know once I really get into my story and everything, there's going to be a lot of people, and you hear this all the time, like, well, you're an E7, you know better, you're a major, or you're a lieutenant colonel, or you're a master sergeant, you should know better. And I mean, that's, to me personally, and talking to a lot of other people, is kind of a cop-out, because I promise you this, depression, chemical imbalances in your body, and that it affects in your brain and everything. Mental health does not discriminate against age or rank. So the fact that people want to say, well, you should have known better. You're a senior NCO. I mean, I could be a 42-year-old private. You're still a grown-ass man. And when people say that, and they'll just, at the end of the day, like I spoke about earlier, they'll say that as the excuse, you should have known better, when to protect the command, if you will. Or it's people that haven't actually looked into how mental health truly affects your brain and your mental capacity and everything. And it's people that just have no empathy. So I don't believe in when people say, well, you were an E7 or you're a major or anything like that. All that tells me is that you actually don't understand what it's like to be in this situation. So obviously I kind of just talked, depression is very complex, and of how it affects your brain and chemical balance in your body, as well as there are some stigmas that go along with being a man, being in the Army, being a Green Beret, being the man of the house, a man in general. Mental health is always kind of taboo, and like, honestly, in the beginning, asking for help never crossed my mind. And there's a lot of people that are like, will say the exact same thing as me. And then I constantly told myself I was good, I was fine, and when reality is moving closer and closer to falling off a cliff. Asking for help at work was absolutely off the table. I've had several friends get burned over the years asking for mental health. because of the stigma, and you absolutely don't ask for or tell anyone at work you need mental health if you want to continue your career. Because like I said, leadership position, you're gone. If you're sergeant major, can't be sergeant major anymore. So why would we go ask for help if we're gonna lose what we've worked so hard for? And then I personally honestly felt lost and hopeless. Couldn't work enough to stay busy enough to not feel depressed. I hardly drank my entire life. I mean, I did have some time in college and everything and whatnot. And then toward the end, before I finally started getting help, I found myself drinking heavily and doing drugs as a quick fix to not feel the way that I was feeling. Because, like I said, I was afraid to go ask for help, because over and over and over again, I've seen my friends attempt to get help and ultimately get burned. And my story is an absolute testament to that. And the fact that I've had multiple command sergeant majors go over my packet, like sincerely apologize to me. Hey, you and your family should have never gone through this. Like, how is there a pattern of misconduct? There's no pattern of misconduct. You've had nothing but phenomenal NCOERs. All of them say, promote above peers, send to MLC immediately, exceed standards, far exceed standards. And how can you use a pattern of misconduct when you came to us and asked for help? And we're sitting there using you being open and honest about everything that you had been doing as your pattern of misconduct. But yet our suicide rates are up 40%, and we're wondering why guys don't come and ask for help. And this is the exact reason why. I've never been in any trouble, ever. Nothing. I've done nothing but great things for this community. Once I started getting the help that I needed, I 100% dove into it. I still see my healthcare provider regularly every other week for the last 2 years. And I was able to rediscover my marriage, like find myself in positive coping mechanisms, being able to talk about it and everything. But at the end of the day, my command, when they see me day in and day out every single day, and are the ones that watched me grow and be a success, the fact that they were like, hey, this guy, rock star, this guy has tons of value to bring back to the regiment. Everything. We want to retain this dude. We don't even want to go a memo to throw out the board. We don't even want to go to it. Doesn't even matter. Because at the end of the day, there's a JAG or a legal team that can just sit there and they have no vested interest in you. Their only job is to protect a command. And the fact that them saying, oh, pattern of misconduct, okay, yep, see ya. And the fact that there's no weight on what the people that have been working with me for the last 2 years, sergeant majors, command sergeant majors, first sergeants, like majors, lieutenant colonels, all the people that have seen me grow the last 2 years, and none of that matters at the end of the day, because it's all about, I guess, protecting the command. I guess I don't know about what, but it's a really hard pill to swallow when you're with battalion, group, and higher command sergeant majors who you bring your packet to, and they're like, are you kidding me? There's no pattern of misconduct here. You came to us and asked for help, and sit there and tell me to my face, I sincerely want to apologize to you and your family. You should have never had to go through this. There's so many mitigating factors that there was protocol that wasn't followed and whatnot. There is a little bit of personal responsibility that I had in the beginning, which I'll go over here in a little bit, but I've never had a bad NCOER, nothing. Article 15, nothing. So Yeah, kind of back on track. I was afraid of how my friends would perceive me, my work, my family would view me. If I told them I was extremely depressed and that I've been drinking and doing drugs to cope with all this. I was worried about my reputation in the community because at this point, I had a great reputation with all the fundraising, everything that I've done, and I didn't want to ask for my own help. Um, so, and I put up this facade for so long, and this act of pretending like I was okay, in hindsight, were my demons taking more and more control of me. On the surface, everyone thought I was okay. In the background, I was honestly on the verge of being a tragedy. Like at the end, before I finally asked for help, like every single day, it was me like trying to talk myself out of suicide and wanting to end my life. And I genuinely think the only thing that really saved me at the end of the day were seeing the effects of my friends taking their own lives had on their friends and family. But at this point in time, behind closed doors, like I might have seemed okay, I was an absolute mess. It honestly took when my friends I hadn't seen in a while and came up from Florida, excuse my language, but like pulled up to my house, saw me, and he says, "Man, you look like absolute shit." And he's like, "Are you okay?" And like, it honestly felt when he asked me that question, it felt like 100 years before the no came out of my mouth. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to explain like the weight that was lifted off of me when I did this. Just to be open and honest and finally admit that you genuinely needed help. And I think the hardest part of this journey, I feel ashamed, but you shouldn't feel ashamed because you're not alone. There's a lot of things that like us as soldiers and everything go through, and you got to look at it this way: a car needs maintenance, your bicycle needs maintenance, your rifle needs maintenance. Every human being needs self-maintenance at some point. And when you begin to realize and learn that stuff, it actually makes it a lot easier for yourself. All right, so let me get into the meat and potatoes of this. So, like I talked about earlier, I'm gonna kind of go down my situation, what I've gone through, and how it's affected my family. Because being separated from the Army for asking for mental health, like, and my wife has 2 severe medical conditions, and that require incredibly expensive medication. And in a couple weeks, like, because I was open and honest with genuinely needing help and put everything out on the table, didn't lie about anything, and because of this, now like my wife's not going to have insurance in a couple weeks, and so now she's going to essentially have to suffer. And I'm not the only one. Like all these command teams, they get civilian counsel, guys that have been like majors and stuff that have been doing this for a long time. I've literally had to, like, it's bankrupted my family because of all these legal fees and everything that we've had to pay trying to fight this. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you do, how I went about this to try to prove myself and everything, at the end of the day, commands just sit there, and number one rule is protect the leader. So like I talked about earlier, like my entire chain of command, battalion and group, retain. We don't even want to do the board. Like, there's no reason to. This dude, rock star. Last 2 years, I've been going to work every day, working my butt off. Nothing but, I don't have any patterns of misconduct. I have patterns of conduct. I have 2 phenomenal NCOERs, and every single NCOER I've ever had. And the fact that all these conversations with all these first sergeants, command sergeant majors, sergeant majors, full bird colonels, lieutenant colonels that I've talked to who have actually sat there and read my file, and they're sitting there and like, where is the pattern of misconduct? Like, you did what we constantly tell you to do, is come to us and ask for help. And you're open and honest because you 100% genuinely want to get help. And out the side of our mouth, we're burning you. And I'm being used to talk to the students about mental health. And it's a super hard pill to swallow, the fact that like I'm not alone, where if I would have lied, everything would have been okay. Like, but I genuinely wanted to get this help. So, and yeah, like, and I can't, this is one thing. And when this gets out, and everybody's going to agree, like, you're always told, don't tell the truth. Just go in there and say something else. Don't tell them you've been using drugs and alcohol, or like, because it's been so long and you've started to use negative coping mechanisms because you're afraid to go ask for help. And we're literally like essentially forced to lie. And so, and then I've talked with my doctor and stuff, like a vast majority of the suicides on Fort Bragg are drug and alcohol related, and they aren't people. These soldiers aren't in the system. What does that tell you? People are afraid to go ask for help because of the repercussions, and they're in a dark place, and they start using negative coping mechanisms because there's no protection. There's nothing but loopholes. That at the end of the day, there's always loopholes, because all it comes down to is protecting the command, not the soldier. All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna kind of talk about my whole situation with all this. So in the beginning, my immediate chain of command, it was a pretty toxic environment, and like nobody trusted the senior NCO at the time. So I went around because I didn't know who to ask, where to go to, because we don't get briefed about that stuff. I didn't know anything about the CARE Coalition. If I would have known about the CARE Coalition, I would have went there right off the bat. And you, like, everybody, including commands, are so ill-informed about the opportunities that are there for the soldiers that are, and a lot of people don't want to go inside the military because of there's nothing to protect them, but they don't know any avenues to go to actually ask for help. So in the beginning, I went around my immediate chain of command. I went up, and the person I talked to, I was told, hey, take 30 days, do what you need to do, take care of yourself. And it was under the radar. I was going to go check myself in, like nobody was notified. It was just like, hey, I'm like, hey, do I need to put in leave, anything to cover myself? No, man, you're good. Take 30 days, do what you need to do, show back up on this day. And if you understand like our community and everything, like, hey man, you take a week, go get help, whatever, and just be back on this day. That's exactly what I did. And so initially I went to this place in Georgia, and it was just a huge sham. It talked about all these programs that it had for the soldiers and everything. This return to duty thing for like TBI, mental health, all that stuff, didn't have any of it. They weren't even set up because it was like a 25, 26 day thing I was supposed to go to. So I get down there, and after about a week, I'm like, hey man, like, where are all of these like soldier return to duty stuff? Because at this point, all I'd been doing is coloring in books and listening to a radio and talking to a guy like once a week. And the head shrink was like, I don't even know what any of that is. And so I was told it had just been purchased by another company, and he's like, I don't even know why you're here for 3 weeks, because this is actually like a detox facility now. And I was like, sweet. So I called my buddy that had been helping me do all this stuff, and I was like, hey, get a hold of this doctor on Bragg for me. This doctor on Fort Bragg said, hey, all right, get him out of there, get him down to me, I'll get him help immediately. So I go down, meet this doctor, and I was like, I need inpatient. And she goes, I'm not gonna recommend you for inpatient because I wanna peel your onion. And I'm like, no, I want inpatient. And she was like, oh, no, I'll just schedule an appointment, you can just talk to me. And I was like, well, can I see you 2-3 times a week? No, I can see you in 10 days. I was like, well, that's not good enough for me. Well, you can call back and every day and see if I have a cancellation, you can come in. And so at this point, I'm just like, well, I'm gonna start going to the Intrepid Spirit. And then I started going to some other like outside group therapy stuff to get help. It's not like I checked myself out and went off the res or anything like that. I was continually going and seeking to get help. So go back to work. Day I was supposed to show up, agreed upon, because the initial sergeant major at the time, he was transitioning out, and he was like, hey, new first sergeant, he's tracking the situation. So show back up on the day that was agreed upon, immediately puts me in for AWOL because I didn't call and check in about what I was doing. And I was like, well, I was told take 30 days, do what I need to do, and that you were tracking this. Hey, do I need to do leave to cover myself? And nope, and doesn't matter, should have called. And this is where they're like, hey, you're an E7. And I know people are going to even continue to say, hey, you should have known better, you're an E7. But like I said, and when I sit there and ask, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, should I have called? Yeah. But when I'm told, hey, take 30 days, take care of yourself, do what you need to do, and that's exactly what I'm doing, trying to get the help that I'm asking for, and it's a sham, or I'm told no, I want to peel your onion. And this is stuff that soldiers have to continually go through over and over and over again. If I go into Womack Army Medical Center and say, I want inpatient, I need it desperately, that's how it should happen. I shouldn't be told, no, I'm not going to recommend, I want to peel your onion. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're coming to you because we're desperate. And just to sit there and tell somebody you want to peel their onion is disgusting. And so this is when, at that time, that first sergeant calls my provider and gets off the phone, comes in, it's like, I bet you didn't know I was friends with so-and-so. We've been friends for a long time. And after talking to her, I'm going to command refer you. And so now everything, this is the loophole. Everything that I tell my provider gets reported right back to the command. But at this point, I'm like, hey, I don't care. Like, why am I going to go and start lying to myself? And why do I need to lie to protect my family and my career? I should be able to be open and honest about my struggles that led me up to asking for help, coming and asking for help. And the fact that, like, again, if I would have just said, hey, I'm depressed, none of this ever would have happened. I would have been completely fine. So then I get a new provider. And so I talk to her, and I'm open and honest with her again. And I tell her everything, drugs, alcohol, all of it. And so this is the conversation that says, hey, Sergeant First Class Beam admitted to using drugs and alcohol. But he still needs to get mental health. And that's when the first sergeant and the major at the time were like, verbatim, the major said this: absolutely not. That ship has sailed. Maybe later on down the road, we can talk about you getting mental health. When I'm at my lowest of lows, like, hey man, like, I was trying to get help. I was constantly told no, no, no. And so I was like, they were like, maybe later on down the road. And so I had to wait like 30 days before they even had an opening for me to go into this like SUDSI mental health program thing called AMIOP. And what happened? I was literally taken away from teaching. I was put in a conference room up at the company, in this conference room by myself. I was only allowed to leave when I was told so. I had to sit there in uniform and just stare out the window when I was at my lowest of lows. And the fact that like, if I wasn't leaning, so if my wife wasn't such a rock for me, and me being open and honest and me having a really good support system, if I would have ended up taking my life, and it would have just been, oh man, bummer, he was a really good dude. And I should have never, a command shouldn't have power to tell your provider, he can't have mental health. Like, if any doctor or provider says, hey, this guy needs mental help, you shouldn't have to ask command's permission, like, ever. And this is another reason why people don't go ask for help, because they don't know if they're going to get it. And then, so I just sat there staring out a window for 30 days, like, just at my lowest of lows when I could have been in treatment. And so, I'll talk about this. So, then I was in a room. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the TRT situation, like your endocrine system, and testosterone replacement therapy, and how low testosterone is an epidemic, especially in the soft community, because of IED blasts. There's like hundreds of Gustav rounds, hundreds of door charges and stuff, just getting your brain rattled over and over and over again. So in 2015, I was in a massive IED. And then when I got back stateside, they checked all my endocrine system, all that stuff. And my testosterone was at around like 160, 150. And so they sent me to go attempt to try to get TRT. And everybody knows it. When you try to get in the Army, it's constantly a door slammed in your face. When your endocrine system, your testosterone levels are one of the greatest factors that affect your mental health, your energy. It literally affects everything in your body. And we literally make it impossible for soldiers to get it. And it's not a secret, because the door constantly slammed in people's faces and everything. And this is exactly in my case too. I was tired of struggling. And I had tried for 4 years to try to get this and do it the right way. And at some point, and I'm one of, again, thousands of soldiers that are tired of struggling, tired of their marriage suffering and stuff, because your endocrine system affects everything in your body, like major, that we start self-medicating ourselves. Like, and it's not a secret at all. And before I started talking to SUDSI, or before I started SUDSI, I told my doctor, hey, I was, because of my incredibly low T levels, and when this is the only thing I got out of when I was in Georgia, was, hey, you're in the low 100s on your T level. This is one of the main reasons why that you're depressed. And then the doctor talked to me about how much it affects. And I was like, hey man, I've already tried. And you can't pay out of pocket for it. It's still against the rules. And it's absurdly expensive to do it that way. And So, like I said, our hand is literally forced because soldiers do not want to suffer, and we're constantly. It's just like you're willing to pump us full of all these antidepressants and everything to just kind of put a blanket over it when there's actually guys that get TRT and everything once they're chemically balanced, like it fixes everything. And if you just get guys back within that range and everything, that actual range between like 5 and 800 and stuff, it's literally the fix all. Because if you're low testosterone, if you have severely low testosterone, you're more prone to getting cancer, injured, you don't heal as well, your memory suffers. Like it literally affects everything. And I don't know why it's so like, yeah, it's an epidemic and stuff. I had the endocrinologist on Fort Bragg tell me when I had multiple sub 200 tests, yeah, it's an epidemic on soft, but I'm doing my thesis about it. I'm not going to recommend it to you. If you want a second opinion, you can go to Walter Reed. Like, again, denied getting help. And then, so I tell my provider, hey, I did this. Like, hey, I was taking a testosterone supplement before I started, but finally, after 4 years, I was able to get an off post through TRICARE after 4 years. And so I literally, like, absolutely the truth is that I took it twice and then stopped. And then I told my doctor this because, hey, this was a problem. And I wanted to be open and honest about everything because I owed that to myself and I owed that to my family. And so they had all my labs and everything. And so they're like, hey, you were open and honest with us. You obviously have a medical need for this. It's allowable use. Just don't do it. Wait till you get your prescription. No big deal. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like I said, well, after the AWOL jazz, it's the first sergeant at the time, hey man, I still want to take care of you. Like, man to man, come talk to me, tell me about anything, blah, 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 blah. I want to see you succeed. And I mean, obviously I know that I tell my provider this, she has to tell my command because said first sergeant changed me to command referred. But I'm, again, being open and honest about everything. So I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, man, no big deal. He's like, I'm not stupid. I know dudes struggle with this and they do whatever they can to get it. Like, dudes don't want to suffer. You were honest with Sudsy, no big deal. They said, allowable use, you're good to go, man. And I'm just confiding in this dude because at this point, like, hey man, this guy came to me and seemed genuine and open and honest that, hey, I want to take care of you. And this was not the truth. So a couple weeks later, I take a UA. And then 6 months down the road, obviously, I was open and honest again. It's not like I was trying to be 250 pounds and bench press 600 pounds or whatever. I was struggling. I tried to do it, tried to get it the right way, and constantly had the door slammed in my face. And this has just been, and I'm not the only one. This is a constant reoccurring theme for soldiers across the entire military. But then when we're tired of suffering, we have to turn to self-medicating ourselves, or we're depressed and can't go talk to anybody. We start self-medicating ourselves. Chemical balance in our body, which is scientifically proven to fix you, but we can't get it because there's so much red tape about it. But we'll give soldiers all the opiates on earth, but instead of giving a soldier something that their body is lacking and needs, and it's literally the one-stop, like, pretty much fix-all, we slam the door in their face. And so I obviously, like, full transparency, I popped hot. But come to find out, this is where, hang on, this is where stuff gets really interesting. So let me go through this. All right. So later on down the road, obviously, I was put in for a GOMAR. It ended up being filed locally and everything. And during my GOMAR reading, I found out that the current first sergeant major at the time made a whole bunch of statements on behalf of my provider that she never said, which they used this for the justification memo to singularly give me urinalysis, was that so obviously Sergeant First Class, this is the memorandum for record from my GOMAR. So Sergeant First Class Beam, all right, so confessed to using testosterone to my doctor, which obviously she has to notify the chain of they state that my provider called my chain of command and stated that I had a positive urinalysis. So and that she did not agree with the allowable use decision. So here is my actual SUDC graduation paperwork. Service member had 18 medical UAs with all negative results for drugs and alcohol, and I completed 5 UPLs from my command with all negative results. So one, I was never tested for testosterone ever by SUDC, and the fact that they made all these allegations on behalf of my doctor, and legal processed a positive UA without a 3822, without any medical paperwork saying that I had a positive urinalysis. So, and then I do an IG investigation. So, do an IG investigation, and they do an internal 15-6. When a command investigates itself, what's a command going to do? Take care of itself. This happens over and over and over again. So my doctor's sworn statement saying she didn't say any of all of these yellow highlighted statements on here, her stating that she didn't say any of that stuff, and my actual medical records proving that where it's yellow, proving that I didn't even take that piss test or have a positive piss test, is not sufficient evidence to prove that that command falsified official documents. So again, command protects itself. And I'm literally just sharing this story because my story is not unique. It happens over and over and over again. And you know what's also really bad? I forgot. This is the biggest thing. And I know it's at the end, but I hope people watch this all the way to the end. This is the most disgusting thing to me about any of it. So for my separation board, Womack Army Medical Center denied me to have my doctor come speak on my behalf as rebuttal to all these statements because I hadn't got the IG investigation back yet. Womack Army Medical Center denied me using my provider. What kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? How does that make your hospital look? Like, what kind of reputation does that show? Like, when you're letting a command make medical statements on behalf of your provider for a service member that you're treating, and you're going to you're not going to stand up for your provider or the service member that you're treating. You're just going to let it be okay that commands are making false statements on your providers. Like, are you serious? Like, that's probably the most inexcusable thing, like, in my opinion, for any of this. And what's funny is, because she wasn't there to like say, hey, no, I didn't say this stuff, the JAG at the time took all of these statements, which when in the IG investigation, I said, hey, she didn't say this, she didn't say this. They twisted the narrative and literally said, Sergeant First Class Beam is making excuses, trying to blame it on the command. And I like literally took snippets of it. And because my doctor wasn't there to like rebuff, hey, I did say this stuff. Like, they literally took it as me trying to pass the buck and stuff. And I just had to sit there and take it, because Army or Womack Army Medical Center, like, what kind of credibility does it give you, the fact that you don't let you let commands make statements on behalf of your providers that aren't true? Medical statements. Like, come on. And kind of wrapping this up here. And I'm not the only one who has gone through this. Like, and you genuinely, like, at the end of the day, I'm sharing my story because there are thousands like me, and I'm hoping this story can bring to light by tagging congressmen, tagging senators, and everything. We have all these programs. There's all these soldiers in these programs, and I've talked to my doctor till I'm blue in the face about this. But and all people talk to is like, hey, why is the suicide rate so high? And it's like, oh, I don't know. We have all these people in all these programs and stuff, but they're not talking to the soldier or the service provider to, hey, yeah, commands just use it as a babysitting tool. As soon as they finish the paperwork, they just put them out on the street. Like I said, you can be on the 6th floor of Womack under suicide watch. As soon as command finishes your paperwork, you get dropped off on the other side of the gate and have a nice life. And for my instance, and if I lived on post, I would about to be homeless in 2 weeks or a week or however long it takes me to finish this stuff. But it's a really hard pill to swallow too. And there's a lot of service members that have my same story. Is I was truthful to myself. I was truthful for my family because I genuinely wanted to get better. And for me being honest and open about everything that I was doing because it's the right thing to do, that's my pattern of misconduct. My pattern of misconduct is because I told the truth. And now my family has to suffer. My wife has 2 severe medical conditions, and we're about to not have insurance. And we've exhausted everything we have financially. And like, you sit there and you don't know, like, am I going to be able to live in this house? We don't have money. If we got to, and well, actually, we can't even sell this house because we've been so ruined financially that we had to file for bankruptcy. And so we can't sell this house. And so if we can't pay our bills, we have nothing. All because I told the truth. And because I told the truth, my family's going to suffer. And it's a real injustice that soldiers really have to go through this. It's not fair. We shouldn't be forced to lie. We should have protections to be able to go to, hey, I need help. There shouldn't be all these loopholes. And the loophole is one of the loopholes, regardless if a command, they can lie, cheat, and steal however they want to falsify anything they want and get a urinalysis illegally. It doesn't matter. In the real world, that stuff gets thrown out. But in the military, regardless if a command lied, regardless of how they obtain this urinalysis, they can still kick you out of the Army, but it's under limited use and it has to be honorably. But In my case, I was just open and honest about everything, which we should be allowed to do. I should be able to tell my provider anything. And if command, like I said, they switched me to command referred after, because the first sergeant and the doctor were chumming, and he just gave her a phone call. I don't know the rules behind that or anything, but at the end of the day, and over and over and over again, I'm talking to all these command sergeant majors and stuff, reading my entire file. And it's like, I literally, guys are just like, and I've told this story so many times in the last couple of weeks, and all these command sergeant majors, these other senior leaders, field grade officers that I've talked to, and they're like, you're absolutely right. Everything that I've stated, it's not a stigma, it's the truth. And they're like, you're absolutely right. Everything you've told me is absolutely correct. Like, if you're in a leadership position, you can't say you need help. You can't go to your command team and tell them that you're struggling and you need help. We're forced to go hide everything or lie to ourselves and pretend, or don't go ask for help at all until it just builds and builds and builds. And like I said earlier, it's like you start getting falling on negative coping mechanisms, and either get a DUI or something catastrophic happens, and then it's too late for you, or you end up, or the worst case scenario, service members start taking their own lives. And I literally did what everybody constantly preaches, and I'm not the only one. I went and asked for help. I didn't hide anything. I was open and honest because I genuinely wanted to get better. And then it's been over 2 years, and I've given my heart and soul to this regiment. Like, I've helped so many families in need. I've spent countless hours taking Q Corps students that want to learn how to shoot better, taking them to the range to teach them on my own time, own money. I go and ask for help. Like, everybody's always like, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. If you need help, come talk to us. That is what I did. And over again, you see it. People go ask for help, and at the end of the day, it's all about protecting the commands. It's been 2 years. I know for a fact I've been an absolute success story. Everybody that I work with in my office will tell you that. Everybody in my office, has been rooting for me. And it's been a true blessing, this last command that I've been in for the last about 2 years. I'm forever grateful that I'm one of the lucky ones that got somebody like this. And it should have never gotten past my direct command, my battalion and group. As soon as the memos, all the memos pour in and the character reference pour in and say, hey, retain this dude. He brings a lot to the regiment. That's as far as it should have went. And my family shouldn't be suffering because I was open and honest. And I just really hope that my story resonates with a lot of people, and that it really brings to light what it's actually like for service members wanting to ask for help, why they don't ask for help, why our suicide rates are skyrocketing, because there's no protection for us, and we genuinely are afraid. Because at the end of the day, we all know. I mean, at the end of the day, I rode the lightning. I took a chance. And sometimes people aren't willing to take that chance and will suffer in silence. And it shouldn't be that way. I should be able to go to any commander, any first sergeant, and just lay it all on the table. Like the fact that we're not allowed to be vulnerable at some point. And like I said, everybody needs self-maintenance. I should be able to come to anybody, and I need help without any repercussions. I could understand if during these last 2 years of when I've been getting help and treatment stuff, if I fell off and just started doing drugs again or anything like, and I haven't. Like, I've been a success story. I've kept my nose to the grindstone and continued to succeed, climb up the hill. Because mental health isn't like, there's not a one-stop fix-all. It's a constant uphill battle. It's going to be a climb for the rest of your life. Like, but you learn these positive coping mechanisms to be able to deal with your depression and be able to realize, like, when you have triggers and everything, and learn how to communicate with people about how you feel. And like, I've been an absolute success story. 2 years later down the road, like, there's no patterns of misconduct. I have patterns of conduct, good conduct. And all my NCRs would tell you that. Everybody I've ever worked with will tell you that. And there's no patterns of misconduct when you go to your command, ask for help. And talking to my doctor over and over and over again, she's like, you know how many people just quit in your situation and just tired of it? And I love this job. Like, I love this job. I love this regiment. I love giving back to the people of this regiment. Like, all I wanted to do was get help and continue to be a Green Beret. And there's thousands of people, like, there's like guys that just want to get help and continue to be in Ranger Regiment, want to continue their career as a platoon sergeant in the 82nd. And we should be able to be afforded that opportunity, especially if we're open and honest about our struggles, instead of sitting there and suffering in silence. Because I know if I go and try to talk to somebody about this, it could be career suicide. But I know this is kind of long. It's an hour. I really hope everybody takes time to listen to this, and I really hope this resonates. And like I said, please start tagging congressmen, nonprofits, especially North Carolina, Senator Tom Tillis, Congressman Dan Bishop, Madison Cawthorn, Dan Crenshaw, Ron DeSantis, anybody that you know, because my story is just like thousands of other stories, and we need to start protecting the soldiers. We needed to be afforded the opportunity to succeed. And we shouldn't be pulled out of our treatments when commands are just done with our paperwork. We should be able to be open and honest, be able to come and sit there and be like, hey, I'm struggling. Allow the soldiers to be honest with themselves. Like, because you're not truly getting the help you need if you're not 100% honest with yourself. If you can't, there's no 60, 70, 80, 95%. It's 100%. And I was 100%. So, hey, thanks everybody for listening. Like I said, if you want to DM me, ask me any questions, feel free. I mean, I'll do podcasts, whatever, and talk about anything. But like I said, nobody should suffer for being honest, and nobody's family should have to suffer because they were honest and genuinely wanted to get the help. So thank you everybody for your time.